It's another exciting edition of Power Wheel, a production of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, where we bring to you top news stories in the power sector. You're welcome to the program. I am Chiwenwa Anyang. The federal government has called for collective action from stakeholders in the power sector to improve electricity supply and attain its incremental power target.
In an address during the opening session of the 4th National Council of Power, KnockUp, which held in Benin, Edo State, with the theme, Increasing Access to Electricity Through Improved Power Infrastructure, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, Power Sector, Engineer Louis Edozin, said,
when power supply fails, we know our lives get disrupted. When power is reliable and consistent, we don't even notice it because that's as it should be. It is therefore important to have forums like this where all of us who regulate, generate, transmit, distribute, and consume power can meet to discuss the issues affecting the sector and to proffer solutions to how to achieve a better power system that meets our expectations.
Edozin, who represented the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, noted that KnockUp is the highest policy-making body and a forum for all stakeholders in the power sector to meet and deliberate on issues affecting the sector.
For all of us here, it's our collective responsibility to deliver a power supply that meets our country's expectations.
Speaking on the ministry's Power Sector Recovery Program, PSRP, the Permanent Secretary tasked security agencies to tackle those who take power but do not want to pay for it. For some operators, he said,
security agencies, you have a particularly important role to play in this regard. There are operators who have illegitimate expectations. They want to make unfair profit, or they want to charge customers what they should not be charging. Again, we have to collectively rise up and point out those illegitimate expectations and put in place policies, regulations, actions that combat and control them.
In his address, the governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, represented by the Commissioner of Energy and Water Resources, Mr. Ekini Idaye, decried the poor supply of electricity by Benin Electricity Distribution Company, BEDC, which he described as unacceptable.
For instance, average daily supply is 8 hours. Less than 20% of an estimated consumer population of 1.2 million have post-prepaid meters, while the vast majority of consumers are grooming under estimated billing system, with each attendant high corporate fraud on the part of BDC. In addition, BDC, since the inception of operation in its franchise area, has not added any value to the infrastructure it inherited, which explains the poor and deteriorated state of the power infrastructure, especially in this part of the country.
He explained the efforts of the state government in improving power supply in the state through a statewide energy audit exercise that revealed faulty power equipment.
Therefore, the theme of this year's edition of the National Council on Power, which is increasing access to electricity through improved power infrastructure, is coming at the right time. This is because Edo people want to have improved access to power supply. Nigerians want to have improved access to power supply. And our industries want to have improved access to power supply. This is because adequate power supply is an economy for industrialization and general social well-being of the people.
During the technical session of the council meeting, the Managing Director of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, Mr. Usman Gur Mohammed, spoke on the projections for transmission infrastructure delivery in Nigeria to raise energy wheeling capacity from the recorded 7.124 megawatts.
When we came last year, we came with established what is called Transmission Rehabilitation and Expansion Program. And the objective of that program is to rehabilitate stabilize, provide necessary flexibility, redundancy, and expand the wheeling capacity of TCN to 20,000 megawatts.
Mr. Mohammed, who said transmission was no longer the weakest link in the power sector value chain, said TCN is focused on 4 achievements, which are making critical investments in transmission lines and substations, improving on the frequency control of the national grid, providing significant spinning reserve to forestall system collapse, and to improve supervisory communication and data acquisition SCADA system to monitor the grid. He also spoke of the ongoing reforms at TCN, which has positioned it to execute the expansion plan, saying,
At the time we came, there are about 800 containers that were stranded in the port of Nigeria. So we need to do something to recover those containers in the port. I am pleased to tell you that as at last week, we have recovered 688 containers out of the 800 containers that are in the port. 688 containers, we have recovered them. And we did not only recover them, we are using in-house capacity of TCN to install most of these transformers. I also am happy to tell you also between June and today, we have installed 25 transformers across the country using TCN engineers. And I can tell you, you can come and verify. Some of them at the rate of about 10% of what we normally pay contractors. One of these transformers that we installed is here around in Benin. We have installed 40 MVA in Auchi using the regional office here. So that is what we have done. And that has significantly expanded our capacity, the capacity of TCN, which was about 5,000 when we came in. As at December, when we last simulated, the capacity of TCN was 7,124. I believe if we do the simulation now, it will be far more higher. So we are using TCN engineers to do things that they can do instead of giving contractors.
The Executive Director of Rural Electrification Funds at the Rural Electrification Agency, REA, Mr. Sanusi Ohiari, in a presentation on the off-grid and mini-grid goals of the agency, said businesses, especially small and medium-scale enterprises, SMEs, spend about $14 billion, about 5 billion naira annually importing and maintaining generators.
The Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola, has called on state governors to support the federal government's drive on improved access to electricity by providing infrastructure.
The minister, represented by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, Power Sector, Engineer Louis Edozin, made the call at the executive session of the 4-day National Council on Power, KnockUp, whose 4th edition was held in Benin, Edo State, recently. While calling for support from the state government, the minister, represented by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, Power Sector, Engineer Louis Edozin, recounted the efforts of the federal government so far, as he said.
Although the power sector has been privatized as a business, government through the federal, state, and local governments with the workers still holds 40% of the shares of the distribution companies. This was. Government at the federal level is still active towards completing some of the NIPP projects. Government is still the bulk trader at the federal level and the driver through policy and action of off-grid power and rural electricity supply. The point I wish to make, therefore, is that all state governments have a role to play to support the private sector in many ways.
He said there is about 7,000 megawatts of electricity, but the distribution companies, DISCOs, could only take 5,000 megawatts, leaving 2,000 megawatts stranded.
As far as power supply from the grid is concerned, we are able to produce 7,000 megawatts with the potential to increase this year and also transmit that power. However, we are only able to distribute 5,000 megawatts, which leaves us with unused power of about 2,000 megawatts. At an average of 200 volts per megawatt of power, that can impact 400,000 homes if we act together at federal and state government levels to bring efficiency to on-grid power supply.
The minister urged the state governors to support the distribution section of the power sector value chain by providing 33 kV by 11 kV power lines, transformers, breakers, and allied equipment to distribute the power to homes and industries. He also said,
in addition to other measures already taken by the federal government on advice from our ministry, has committed to intervene in provision of some distribution equipment after consultation with those. What I propose to this council, therefore, is that each state government should consider and work with the DISCOs that serves your state. I urge you to find places where people can pay and require more power. Identify the distribution equipment needed to deliver the power, cost it, agree with the DISCO, make the investment if you can, and agree a cost recovery strategy.
The governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, said efforts to improve electricity infrastructure across the state will enable more electricity supply to industries and for the common man to have adequate and sustained supply.
Therefore, I find it very heartwarming that this is the core of the discussion of this session. Sadly, the pain of not getting it right in the power industry is not only an attack of power development, it is a major disincentive to local and foreign investments, as it has continually kept a local production capacity flat, and it has plunged our business management into the unfortunate realm of declining manufacturing activities. And the sad outcome has been soaring unemployment, leading to increased social violence.
Governor Godwin Obaseki, who lamented the poor electricity distribution services in the state through Benin Electricity Distribution Company, BEDC, said,
that is why we are very interested in the message of the Prime Minister, that we should begin to look at options, particularly where we can generate or distribute electricity in the catchment period. We will be running from the electricity board to see how we can obtain more licenses and to improve the electricity distribution to masses.
Let's take a break for a short message. Please stay tuned.
Verify that land before you buy it. To drastically reduce the incidence of building under the transmission right-of-way or encroaching on designated TCN land, members of the public are hereby requested to verify land near or along transmission line route before purchasing it. Verification should be made in the Land Development Authority or at the TCN office. This would help in drastically reducing the incidence of building under transmission line right-of-way and save us all the problem of pulling down the structure or truncating transmission line expansion projects in your community due to court injunction. Help us serve you better. Verify that land before you buy it.
You're still watching Power Wheel. The transmission company of Nigeria, TCN, says it has done substantial rehabilitation of its transmission infrastructure in Niger State to increase wheeling of bulk electricity for distribution in the state.
The Managing Director, CEO of TCN, Mr. Usman Guru Mohammed, disclosed this when he received the Deputy Governor of Niger State, Alhaji Ahmed Mohammed Keso, at the TCN headquarters in Abuja recently. Mr. Mohammed said TCN has many transmission substations that interfere to wheel electricity in the state. They include substations at Mina, Shiroro, Tegina, Kotongora, Jeba, a 132 kV substation in Kainji, Bida, and Suleja.
We are also planning to build a 132 kV substation in Lambata because we believe that there's a lot of expansion around that side, and we feel that we should have a substation there. So these are the interfaces where we have a substation in Niger State.
He said the present management of TCN saw the need to upgrade the transmission substations to boost energy wheeling capacity to the distribution section of the power sector value chain, and keyed into that immediately.
Some of the rehabilitation that we did that are in Niger State, one, we did rehabilitate Mina substation. We put new breakers, and we rehabilitated the switchyard, which was financed by the World Bank. That job has been completed. We have also upgraded the Bida substation. I think it's about 30 MVA. We have installed 60 MVA there in Bida, and we have completed it and commissioned it.
The TCN bus mentioned other grid expansion efforts to include the installation of 60 MVA transformer at Bida substation and the upgrading of the Suleja substation with 2x60 MVA transformers, all achieved within the last 1 year.
We have also come up under the plan of the transmission rehabilitation and expansion program. We are going to reconductor the line from 132 line from Suleja, from Shiroro to Suleja to Abuja. We are also putting some sky wires and changing some of the equipment. We are also going to upgrade the line between Kaduna and Shiroro, but we are putting 132 kV substation in Suleja.
On the plan to build Lambata substation in the state, Mr. Mohammed said the system planning department of TCN found that the population of the area has grown, prompting the need for TCN to expand the bulk electricity delivery capacity and secured land from the state government for the project.
They felt that Lambata need to have a substation, so they came up with the plan. I want to use this medium to ask our colleague to thank the Deputy Governor for all the support he has given us, because he is the one that is instrumental to us getting the land that we are putting the 132 kV substation in Lambata. So thank you, sir.
The Deputy Governor, Alhaji Ahmed Mohamed Keso, in his remarks, conveyed the appreciation of the Governor, Alhaji Abubakar Sani Bello, to the management of TCN for the numerous interventions in the state. He solicited for more support from TCN in helping to improve power supply across the state in areas like Mokwa and Zungeru.
The very time when they called me upon the issue of land, in this of Niger, that very day we get, after we got the land, they approved it that day, we paid the compensation that day. That is what happened.
He said letter was written to TCN for support on key projects and that it was imperative for the courtesy visit to the MD of TCN.
For us to come here to come and see you in person, to appeal to you, to see how possible
in helping
you can intervene on these 4 areas.
Supply across the state in areas like responding. MD, CEO of TCN, Mr. Mohammed, who assured of giving support to deliver more projects, said TCN was no longer the weakest link in the value chain as it has executed much projects in the states to boost power transmission to the distribution section.
Experts and consultants in the Nigerian electricity supply industry, NESI, recently converged in Abuja to discuss the inceptions and projections for the electricity tariffs in place, while educating electricity users on the processes for tariff fixing.
At the NEXIA monthly power sector dialogue, senior consultant Power Sector Recovery Program Engineer Samuel Atakulo explained the conception of the multi-year tariff order, MITO. She said MITO was a methodology vital for proper pricing and tariff setting for electricity as a product.
A wrong forecast of energy or a wrong forecast of gas supply can totally derail your tariff. For the same reason, if you don't manage the efficiency of the distribution companies and the efficiency of the transmission companies in what is being framed now, the revenue requirement. Remember, this is the big challenge that is faced with MITO. How do you successfully provide the revenue requirement that is efficient, that is constructive? This is a challenge for the regulator and a challenge for the distribution companies, because this is the bulk of what determines the tariff.
The General Manager, Market Competition and Rates at NEC, Malam Shamsuddin Mahmood, said there was need for the review of the tariff methodology, MITO. He noted that NEC in 2017 consulted the public on whether to review some aspects of the methodology.
At the end of the day, the consensus was that we should continue with the same methodology and with the same review process, because people have been advocating that, okay, instead of having twice annual reviews, why can't we be reviewing our tariffs more frequently, maybe on a monthly basis? The reason why they said that has been because of this, because of the foreign exchange implication. We tend to have almost persistent, consistent fluctuation in foreign exchange. Last year, almost on a monthly basis, you find that the exchange rate will change.
Mahmoud also said in setting tariff, the Commission ensures that members of the public make their inputs as well as the industry operators for NEC to review, adding that
we will ensure that whatever cost is accepted at the end of the day is something that is prudent, and it is something also that is competitively, or that will be competitively procured. So that is on the DISCO side.
On his part, energy specialist at African Development Bank, AFDB, Engineer Chigo Egoro, who spoke on the future of the viable electricity tariff in Nigeria, said there was need for stakeholder collaboration in building a cost-reflective tariff that considers the fluctuations in foreign exchange rates and the other factors.
The amount of investment required to make the sector be what you want it to be is not what is in the MITO. What you want in OPEX is not there. But NEC has been making a lot of effort in the last, even from inception since I know them. It's been a big problem and they've been solving it inch by inch. So the first thing first that needs to be gotten right for you to project the tariff is to get your data very right. You need to know what and what that needs to be done. Studies needs to be done. The next thing becomes the finance part of it. There has to be financial solutions.
We believe that if we do implement what we are doing, including the report the way it is, we are going to have a functional SCADA where everybody who is on the grid will be seen, and anybody who contravene the grid code will be punished appropriately. That is how we can have a stable grid.
Please stay put as we bring you more news in the Power Flash segment. Viewer, this is where we draw the curtain. We hope to keep you updated with events in the power industry as they unfold in subsequent editions. Please keep a date with Power Wheel, same time next week. Until then, you can watch our program via our YouTube channel and as well reach us through these other platforms. I am Chinwenwa Anyao. Bye for now.